Okay.
Did you ever have any ambitions towards becoming an astronaut?
Um, so I have two replies to that. One is no, because I was interested in the universe. And I don't know if you know this, but you can calculate, you can ask, when astronauts orbit the Earth, they're in space, how far away from Earth are they? Well, we can recite that distance. The space station is orbiting about 250 miles above the Earth,
Mm.
okay, 450 kilometers, something like that. And all right, well, how far is that? Well, if you take a schoolroom globe and say, all right, tell someone to put, you got one behind you, it's about a foot across, right? And ask yourself, how high above that globe would you find the space station? And forgive the English units, but it would be 3/8 of an inch above
Well, I have a
the
globe right
globe.
here.
Let's bring it here
All right.
and let's see. There you go. And now you go 3/8 of an inch above. No,
Right
that's
up.
too high.
Is it
No,
too
that's not three. Lower. That looks about right. That's right.
Wow.
So that's how high above the world they are. And I am studying galaxies, large scale structure of the universe, the Big Bang. That's not space. So period. So the fact that we were going to the moon, that was a little better.
Uh-huh.
I get that. But then you look at who's going. Well, okay. Um, None of them looked like me, but that alone was not a heavy force operating. Like I said, I'm not into role models. I'm not saying, well, I need a black person to go to the moon so that I can think that I can go to the moon. That's not, no. I had more power over my own ambitions than that. But what I did notice was that every single astronaut was, all but two, it turns out. I would later do, create the tables for them. All but two, uh, every single astronaut um, was in the military.
Mm-hmm.
They went to military academies. And even though NASA is a civilian agency, everyone they were sending up were military test pilots. This is in the 1960s at a time when the Vietnam War was rapidly becoming unpopular. So I'm thinking to myself, I know I will never go to a military college to become an officer. If that's what you need to go into space, I'm never going into space. So combine these two forces, and no, I had no interest in going into space. By the way, that's different from, let me add a third, you didn't ask this, but it's related. Um, Most of my colleagues of my generation got interested in the universe because we were going to the moon. My interest was independent of that. I was interested in the universe with or without NASA.
Mm.
So I'm one of the rare ones in my generation that said that my interest in the universe was in spite of NASA, not because of it.
Well, it seems that the space tourist industry is kind of inevitable at this point. Would you have any interest in, going up to space, even just a little bit, as you kind of put it?
I would delight in experiencing weightlessness.
Yeah.
But you don't need to go into space to
Yeah, they
do
have
that.
the
You can go
what
into
is it, the vomit comet they call it?
the vomit comet. Apparently, they're trying to, improve the image. So they don't call it the vomit comet anymore, but the rest of us do, but they don't. I
Catchy
think
name.
there's some critical dose of Dramamine that precludes the. Plus, if they tell you what to eat and not to eat in the 24 hours beforehand, but I would delight in experiencing that. Zero G, as well as they can have certain trajectories of their arc where they can simulate moon gravity, 1/6 G,
Hmm.
and Mars gravity, which is
Oh.
40% of Earth gravity.
Hmm.
So I would delight in that, but that doesn't require going into space. And by the way, if you're going to send a ship to the moon or to Mars, I'd sign up for that, but not just driving around Earth boldly going where hundreds have gone before. That's not, for me, that's not space. And by the way, the definition of space is actually, and I don't want to take you down that road, but
Go ahead.
it's defined, it's 100 kilometers up. I say, that's awfully round number. Where does that come from? Well, right now in the daytime, when you look up, if it's a clear day, the sky is blue. Okay. Well, it's blue because that is blue light scattered out of the sunlight that otherwise reached Earth's surface. And that happens particularly intensely at sunset. So much blue is taken out of the sun that the sun is amber. It's like even reddish under some conditions, especially when you have soot from forest fires. And the rest of the sky is a deep, deep, deep blue. Okay, so you start taking blue out of the sunlight, the sun becomes red, the sky becomes blue. That's the atmosphere doing this. As you ascend, the atmosphere gets thinner and thinner and thinner. There's a point where there's not enough atmosphere above your head for scattered light to turn it blue. In fact, it doesn't turn it any color. In fact, there's hardly any atmosphere at that point. So when you look up in daylight, you see the night sky. You see, that's what's above you right now. The darkened sky is above you. You just can't see it because of the scattered blue light. So you find the place in the atmosphere where the sky is no longer blue. And we call that space, and that's 100 kilometers. So these up and down trips, there's suborbital flights that are being considered by Blue Origin. So some of them are not quite full orbit. You just go up and then you're weightless the whole time you're coming back. That's a suborbital flight. As Scott Carpenter had done, one of the earliest astronauts who was launched. Point is, that's our definition of space. And so our definition of space is atmospherically defined. And that's, for me, that's just a little odd. So for the limits of the atmosphere to define when you're in space, that says, suppose we had half the atmosphere we do. It was half the thickness. That means space would be at 50 kilometers, not 100. Suppose we had a fourth the thickness, then it would be 25 kilometers. Suppose we had no atmosphere at all. By that definition, just standing on Earth, you're in space. And so, again, I'm an astrophysicist. I think about space differently from a space agency does. And so for me, if you want to go into space, send me somewhere. So yeah, if you're going to send a ship to the moon, I'll sign up. Mars, you give me a good movie account. Give me a few good books to read, some good music. I'm there.
You're up for it. Cool.